What's up, y'all? We've had a lot of requests for ways to reuse toilet paper rolls. We have used quite a few toilet paper rolls over the years. So today, we're going to show you a few of our favorite ideas. For our first project, we're going to make a laundry hamper using 2 toilet paper rolls, a plastic bottle top. This is from a bottle of vitamins, fabric, ribbon, and twine. I start by taking the toilet paper rolls and cutting them up the center, glue them around the bottle cap. I'm just using a little hot glue. Once one has been glued on, we can glue on the other one from the other side to make a wider toilet paper roll with a bottom. Next, we take the fabric, which needs to be a little longer than the toilet paper roll. Wrap the fabric around the roll. Use a little bit of glue to glue down those ends. Hopefully you didn't glue it to the toilet paper roll so it can be removed. Seal one end. I'm just going to make a little line of hot glue and then press it down. Set it aside. Take the twine, glue it to the bottom of the toilet paper roll. Wrap it all the way up, gluing along the way. Glue it at the top and trim off the excess. Then take the fabric, place the sealed side inside of the tube, wrap the top over the edge, glue on ribbon to cover the edge, cut 2 small pieces of twine, glue them onto the sides for handles. And we can make a little bow and glue it onto the front for a little decoration. And now we have a laundry hamper for our dolls. And if you don't want to do all of that wrapping, here is a second choice. We are still using 2 rolls and a plastic bottle top. Cut the rolls, glue them to the bottle cap, take a rectangle of white fabric, fold over the top and glue it down. I used hot glue, however, you could always sew it if you like. Wrap it around the toilet paper roll and glue it, then glue the bottom shut. To make the lining for our basket, take another fabric, glue it around the paper roll, lining it up at the top and tucking it under at the bottom. I do want the bottom to lay as flat as possible so my hamper is stable. Then we take our liner, place it inside of the basket, and fold the top over the edge. I use a little glue to hold it in place to make a faster laundry hamper. And we can glue on ribbon handles as well. And I'm using a hole punch on foil cardstock to make tiny little metallic circles to glue onto my ribbon for a little extra detail. And now our dolls can pile up their laundry just like us. Next, let's make a footstool. For this project, I'm using 1 toilet paper roll, a scrap of felt, a plastic bottle top, and a needle and thread. My toilet paper roll measures 4 inches, so we're going to cut it in half. First, I measure and draw a line, cut up one side to the line, then cut on the line drawn. Since my bottle cap is a little larger than the toilet paper roll, I'm going to need to cut both. So I cut it right up the center, flip the bottle cap over, and glue the rolls around it, just as before. We are using both pieces. Take the top, place it on felt, and cut a little circle around it, leaving a seam allowance. Next, cut a rectangle of felt that can fit around the tube, leaving a little extra for a seam allowance. Take the felt, wrap it around the tube, leaving just a little bit hanging over at the top. Where the ends meet, we're just going to sew, going back and forth, up about a 1/2 inch. Then take the circle, place it on top, and sew it to the rectangle, going back and forth. After going all the way around, knot and tie the end, carefully remove it, turn it inside out, put the tube back in. Now we have one end kind of laying over the other, So let's just tuck this side under and get it to lay flat. Then sew a blind stitch. We make one small stitch on one side. Then we go to the other side directly across and make another small stitch. Then go back to the other side and repeat this process. To close that side, I take the bottom and tuck it under and glue it in place to make a cute little footstool. Perfect for our dolls to sit back, relax, and put their feet up. And that just gave me a new idea. For our next project, we need toilet paper rolls, recycled paperboard, felt, plastic bags, and a needle and thread. I start by tracing the roll onto paperboard, cut out 2 circles, stuff the tube with plastic bags, tape the circles onto the ends, and I'm pretty generous with the tape. Cut 2 circles of felt and a rectangle just as before, only this time we are going to sew both ends closed. So let's wrap the felt around the tube, begin sewing about 1 inch from the edge, then sew on one of the circles, then remove it and flip it inside out, place the tube back in, sew it up. I use a blind stitch to sew on the other circle, trying to be as neat as possible. Tie and knot the end of the string to make a little covered roll. Then repeat a few more times. This did take a minute, but you just sit down with a good TV series and sew away. I have a total of 7. One side looks pretty good, and the other side is a little wonky, but it'll work. Take 6 and line them up side by side and measure it. Mine is about 10.5 inches and 4 inches wide. Cut, stack, and glue together paperboard to those measurements. I am using a glue stick to glue them all together to make a board. And this is about 7 layers of paperboard. Make 1/2 inch squares and stack and glue them together. Repeat to make 4. Glue them to the corners of the board. Paint it. And I ended up having to add another little square underneath in the center for a little extra support. Begin gluing on the tubes, making sure the seams are facing down. Then I glue the last one on the top at the end to make some postmodern inspired furniture. Why is all of my modern furniture pink? I guess we need to do a pink room, but that's for another day. For our next project, we are making a plant. We're going to use a toilet paper roll, paint, paper, yarn, and felt. I start by rolling paper around something round, like a wooden dowel or a skewer. Use a little glue to secure the ends. Then remove it from the wooden dowel or skewer. Tear a long strip of brown paper. I'm using a paper bag. Starting at the top of the tube, begin to wrap the paper around the tube. Then just kind of mess it up. I want those torn edges to really stand out. And I'm lightly dry brushing it with a light brown paint. I like that. It created some really nice texture. I made a few more in different sizes. Take the toilet paper roll and cut it down to size. Cut a circle of paperboard and glue it to the bottom. Wrap it with yarn, gluing along the way. I did a thick band of white, followed by brown. Next, I cut a long strip of green paper, fold up one side and make a crease, then cut leaves, paint a darker green line going down the center, and I added a layer of gloss Mod Podge for a little shine. With the good side facing up, roll them. I'm using the end of a toothpick. Cut it when you think it will still fit inside of the paper tubes. Use glue to secure the end, and then glue it inside of the tube. Curl the leaves down. Wrap brown paper around a small roll of leaves. Use glue to secure it in place, then glue it on. I just used a glue stick to attach it so it wouldn't be super bulky. Cut thin strips of felt. Roll the felt around the paper tubes, then place it inside of the toilet paper roll to make a decorative house plant in a planter. For our next project, we are using a toilet paper roll, paint, more paperboard, foil scrapbook paper, and a plastic shopping bag. I am recycling this paperboard and I'm going to make some larger circles. I just need it to be a little larger than the paper tube. After drawing one, I cut it out, then glue it down and repeat. To reach the desired thickness, use a nail file to sand the edges, then glue the paper tube on top. Paint the inside black and the top edge, as well as the bottom. Allow it to dry. I cut a piece of foil scrapbook paper that is slightly shorter than our tube, so I have a little space on top and a little space on the bottom. Wrap it around and glue it in place. I used a glue stick all over the other side to position it, and once I had it where I wanted it, I used a glue stick in the very back on the seam to make sure it would stay in place. And now we have a nice little kitchen trash can. Now I just take a plastic shopping bag, lay the trash can on top by the fold, cut a little bit after and a little bit before. Now I'm just cleaning up my lines, and I make sure it can go all the way around the trash can with a little extra. Overlap the ends, then use clear tape and tape them together. Then tape it across the bottom, folding the tape over the edge. To make a small trash bag, just for fun, I'm cutting a thin piece of plastic off the handle of my actual trash bag. Place it on the top edge of our bag, then fold over the edge, tape it down, making sure not to touch the black strip. But you do want to make sure the tape is below this line, so when we pull it, this area will gather. So my tape actually is from here to there. Then flip it over to the other side, overlap the black plastic, tape them together, trim off the excess, then fold over the plastic bag and tape it down, locking the black line on the inside. Make a small cut in the plastic so we can pull out the black line to make a trash bag with a drawstring. Now we can place the trash bag into the trash can. I wanted to fold the trash bag over the edge, but the tape was a little too stiff, so I went back and made it much thinner by cutting a thin line to seal the drawstring in place. Now let's see if it works. Put the trash bag inside and fold it over the edge. Yay! Then pull the drawstring and twist it to tighten it. Now we have a trash can with a trash bag for our miniature kitchen. Speaking of kitchens, for our next craft, we are using, guess what? A toilet paper roll, recycled cardstock, wire and pliers, and paint. Cut the toilet paper roll. This is a little over 1.5 inches. Place it on recycled paperboard and glue it down. I try and make sure it's nice and round as it dries. Trim off the excess. Paint it. I'm using a dark gray. Add silver. I'm just tapping the color on to make texture. And I'm mixing the gray and the silver at the same time to give it this metallic look. While waiting for it to dry, I cut 1.5 inches of wire. Then I'm going to curl both ends, then bend it in the center, and I turn the circles so they're facing out. So now it's starting to look like a handle but we need those little circles to go down. So I'm gonna bend them down. And now we have a little handle. Move the roll so where we don't see the line, like right there. And I'm gonna glue my little handle right onto the side. Repeat to make 2. Brush on some clear Mod Podge for a little extra shine to make a miniature gumbo pot. Also referred to as like a stock pot, you know, stuff like that. But in my family, they're called gumbo pots. For our last project, let's use the other end of that roll, more paperboard, and glue. Paint, cut it down to size. This is a little under 1.5 inches. Glue the bottom onto paperboard, trim off the excess, then repeat for the other side to make a cylinder, which is totally not perfect. Cover it with glue. I'm just swirling this on. Using hot glue for texture is one of my favorite techniques for making miniature cakes. Once the glue dries, paint it with acrylic paint to make a large cake with pink frosting. I'm thinking this is a little too tall, so I cut it in half. Then, with a little more glue and paint, I now have 2 cakes. So if I was to make this again, I would probably cut the paper tube around 3/4. Take the coating off of a paper clip, glue them on top for candles, for a homemade birthday cake. So we made a plant, a stool, furniture, a pot, a clothes hamper, cake, and a trash can using toilet paper rolls, giving us 7 crafts. Thank you for joining us for another 7 crafts video. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell and follow us on Instagram at MyFroggyStuff and the Frog Vlog. And we will see you next time.